All right, let me preface this. Let me mute this so CBS doesn't mute me from YouTube. I am in my bed, comfortable on a Saturday afternoon while recording this. Don't let my surroundings silence my message. Okay, just just open your mind. Anyway, Hugh Freeze and Auburn got their ass kicked, at least offensively, in a 27-10 loss. Oregon, and Colorado of Deion Sanders fame. 35-0 Oregon at halftime. I don't believe it came back yet. I'll look it up while I'm doing this video. A lot of people are making a lot of wide-ranging assertions about both games, and I'm going to try to make it. Dart just threw a fucking duck. Oh my god. God damn, Jackson Dart sucks ass. Good lord. Oh my spin move. Anyway, so I'm watching Alabama Oregon Ole Miss game. Anyway, let's address the Auburn one first, and I'll try to connect it to the Colorado one, which isn't over with, but it basically is over with. First, I mean, excuse me, it is like very, very alarming, like the score, because 27-10 kind of signifies you got your ass kicked a little bit against a bad A&M team. They were only favored by 7 points, which, is something, but you give about 3 for home field. So really, I guess about 4 in a neutral field. And then to lose by 17, not great, obviously. But I think you got to really watch the game to understand, like, why it shouldn't be. Well, I guess if you watch the game, it will both be even more shocking for some people, and then also less shocking, I think, for casual people who didn't watch the entire game. As for the more casual crowd, Auburn was in it and then not in it at the same time. It's so many dualities, I guess, because you knew Auburn's offense was never going to put it together, right? Like, you pretty much knew that after the first half that was not going to happen. Especially with Peyton Thorne, who was dreadful again. Just does not look like to be even semi-competitive in any kind of pressure situation. I mean, he's just bad, I would say, when pressure's in his face. And Robbie Ashford is definitely like miles better mentally as a quarterback than Thorne. But at the same time, like, I can't throw, which is kind of like a requisite of the position. So Ashford definitely like puts the hope into you when you see him out there that something could happen. But you also have like the kind of sinking suspicion that something bad could happen at any point with Ashford, which I guess Thorne also has that too. Like Thorne can identify a right guy to throw to, but in terms of getting the ball to him, it is an adventure of like, where's Waldo Estents? Like, where's the ball going to go? Is it going to go within 20 miles of the receiver? You don't always know that. And unfortunately, for 2 of the 4 quarterbacks that we have as the top 4 options, we being I'm an Auburn fan, I suppose, are, I guess, Hank Brown or Peyton Thorne, who were both recruited by Hugh Freeze, reputed quarterback guru, or at least offensive guru that also is good with quarterbacks. And one of the 2 quarterbacks are a true freshman that will not be playing unless the fire just spreads to every single system of the human body. That is Auburn's football team. And Peyton Thorne, who's like just horrible at football. So I will say, like, to give Freeze some kind of leash. I mean, Thorne was one of the better quarterback transfer prospects out there, but at the same time, like, there are guys who outperformed him to this point in the season. So it's like, I kind of also have to, like, hey, you probably should have analyzed things a little bit better. I mean, hell, even when the guys that transfer out of his program looked better than him, TJ Finley looks better than Peyton Thorne right now. And I know you say, well, he doesn't play anybody. I would say Baylor's defense is better than some of the guys that Peyton Thorne looked bad against. I'm not going to say any specific team, California, but I'd say that, like, Baylor is at least comparable to California. And They didn't even trust Thorne to throw like 20 times in that game, and they were pretty much down damn near the entire game, it felt like. They have a don't wait, vaccinate sign in fucking Tuscaloosa, Alabama. You know how that's going to go over in Tuscaloosa, Alabama? To ask people to get vaccinations for anything, even like measles. I would guarantee they're behind on their fucking measles shot in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Anyway, so I mean, yeah, analysis is important. If you're not making even, the simple analysis of saying who's your best quarterback prospect on your team, which they don't seem to have an analysis like that, then I mean that's a problem. It really is. And if you're saying to the bigger problem, like what is our offense? Those two offensive gurus don't know what the hell they have in their offense. They don't. They don't throw over the middle. They don't seem to have a consistent flow of when to like just grind the game out on the running game. We gave like an excuse to say like, okay, well, if you look at the script against the bad teams, we don't want to run every play because we need to practice shit. Well, now we're playing against the good teams, and even the running game's the only thing that's competitive against A&M's vaunted, it fucking sucked, defense. We're still going to throw it on running downs. The downs we should be running. And there was a lot of stacked boxes that came as the game progressed, especially with Robbie Ashford in. So, I mean, I understand that you're sitting there saying to yourself, okay, well, if it's going to be a potential... God, they just fucking speared Jalen Milroe. God damn. If it's going to be a potential fucking stack box, then we want to throw it so stack box doesn't come. Well, at that point, then you throw it. When you can force them to stack the box, then you do that. Don't prematurely stop running the goddamn ball when you look like dog shit passing the fucking ball. Okay? Can we just not do that? All right. So to wrap this up, I gotta link this to the Colorado shit. The play calling was fucking dreadful. Like just horrible play calling. Horrible play calling. No feel for really using the quarterbacks. I didn't necessarily say you had to do a 2-quarterback system, but when either quarterback was in, outside of the one time they got kind of close to the end zone with Ashford, it didn't feel like they ever really had a good feel for an offense that worked around either quarterback. The offensive line is bad. I have to say the offensive line, like in pass blocking, is fucking terrible. Run blocking actually seems to be pretty decent. Except when like quarterback draws are coming. They look bad when the quarterback draws are happening, but I mean, the thing about it, people need to understand, Thorne can like run in a straight line. Like he can do that competently, but in terms of like actually like side to side movement or like switching from passing to running, like the shit that takes like actual mental processing, he's fucking terrible at that. Like he cannot go from being, I'm about to throw, pressure is coming, let me scramble and get 5 or 6. That shit he can't do. He just literally can't do it. It's just not in his DNA. And then Ashford obviously is Robert. Anyway, Colorado and Oregon. So people thought, a certain subset of people kind of looked at things and said to themselves, well, Colorado's defense is terrible, but the offense at its level of proficiency for the most part in the last 3 games should be able to hold up. And obviously, Colorado was held at 22 yards in the first half. Oregon's defense started kicking some ass. But the thing is, Oregon committed to the bit that existed in the past 3 games. Nobody had either the ability to commit to it, the time to commit to it, or the want to commit to it. This fan gotta be loud as fuck, yo. I don't know what to do about it. Alright, I don't know if that sounds any better. Anyway, I live in basically a trap house in essence. A trap house with an art painting. Shout out Gustav Klimt. Anyway, so it got to a point where Oregon, with their wonderfully decent... Dude, fuck Dan Lanning, alright? Dan Lanning go fuck himself. Dan Lanning got his fucking jaw cracked against Georgia Went out there and shit the fucking bed the second that Knicks got hurt against Washington last year. And this motherfucker's talking tough shit against a team with the lightest fucking bots in major college football. It's like, oh my god, we're gonna fucking go in there, beat the fuck out of them. We're gonna fucking break their fucking necks. We're gonna break their fucking jaws. And it'd be one thing if it was just like player talk. He's saying this shit to anybody who will listen to him. He was saying this shit about Colorado before the season started. I'm not mad at shit talking. It's just that motherfucker, you talking shit against a little person, Tyrion Lannister. You feel comfortable talking that much shit against them? You literally lost your team opportunity to play in the conference championship last year. You lost that. You fucking sold that shit, bro. That damn Washington's game is all on Dan Lanning last year. Fuck that dude. He's talking crazy shit from somebody that fucking sold with a pretty comfortable, like, if you get Mario Cristobal recruits, that's a pretty comfortable situation. Now I'm not saying that Dan Lanning doesn't deserve to talk some shit because everybody's gonna talk shit against Colorado. Everybody's up the old guard that's the fucking, well, I'm gonna pick my team picks themselves up by their bootstraps and they go out there and grind every fucking day. All that horse shit you get from fucking anybody from the South, especially, which I think Lanning at least coached in the South. He probably is from the South too. All that horse shit, fucking antiquated old guard of coaching. They're gonna all say that nonsense in every matchup against these dudes. I'm aware of that, but it's absolutely ridiculous. It came from Dan fucking Lanning, who fucking sold his team out last year. Anyway, so reality kind of came to set in. The game script I've been suggesting people run since I saw the TCU game was just, hey, pound the goddamn ball and then stack the goddamn box, and you can probably make some magic happen. TCU and Kendall Briles' infinite wisdom decided, hey, we should be able to just throw it 50 yards on these dudes every play, and they just had shitty ass Chandler Morris air the fucking ball out. They get like 40 passes in that game when their running back did perfectly well, and they decided, hey, no, we're just not gonna do that. And obviously their defense couldn't really do shit with Colorado. Nebraska got closer to the script, but Nebraska sucks, so they couldn't kind of commit to it. And then Colorado State kind of took their foot off the next. They couldn't really like run the ball to the same proficiency as I thought TCU could, or Nebraska tried to in the first half of that game. But the thing was, once Colorado State's player like illegally knocked out Travis Hunter, they just didn't have the athletes at cornerback to play short. And obviously, if you've watched Colorado at this point, Charles Kelly does not trust those boys to like sit back or to press. They pretty much play like off coverage eternally. They do not like press up, because I guess the other potential reality is even much worse than them just getting nickeled and dimed to death for an entire like 5 quarters, 6 quarters worth of football. So no, they just play off. So Crossers just killed the shot of them, and their guys are not particularly good in any kind of facet. Their defensive line is not good, which we knew that, and their CBs are not great either. But when you can't get any kind of pass rush or run contain, they're probably bringing extra dudes. I didn't really pay attention to the defensive line too much outside of just seeing them get run over, but I'm assuming Colorado's breaking in extra dudes to the box. I really just didn't watch it too much because I was like, oh my god, can someone please stop this? Like, I was just like in awe of kind of the ass kicking. So I'm hoping in the second half, I have the score pulled up. I'm not really watching it much. I'm hoping that the clock just kind of airs out and they just kind of get out of here without losing by like 70. The way that Dan fucking Lanning and his fucking stupid ass face was talking at halftime, I assume they're gonna like try to like run up the score on him, which I will say I've never in my entire life seen a team just have less respect for their opponent than the way Colorado or Oregon was calling the game against Colorado. Like going for 2 on just nonsense like situations, going for it on your own 17. I mean, there's just no fear in their heart for these dudes whatsoever, and it's kind of sad to see, honestly. I'm not gonna lie to you. Anyway, how do I tie these two together? So people are going in the opposite direction on both hires, which I feel, even though the two are not at all linked, in a sense they are, because the old guard way of thinking is why Freeze was option one, two, and well, option two, three, and four for Auburn, because option one was obviously Lane Kiffin. The fact that they know they can control Freeze, you can guess what they is, but the fact that they felt they had a pretty good handle on Freeze, that he was safe, and that both his personality was one that set, outside of the whole being basically horrible human being, his personality works for the Southeastern Conference for the Auburn's fans, blah blah blah. Freeze warning. And he was safe for the Board of Trustees, which Harsin was not. And obviously, Deion Sanders was not going to be safe for the incestuous. I almost want to say inbred. I almost said it. Outdated. Let's just say that Board of Trustees at Auburn University. They're the boosters, the Board of Trustees, the donors, blah blah blah, all very antiquated for the most part. And I don't think Deion Sanders fits that mold. I think it'd be worse for Deion to be there. Like I think Deion picked a spot to be better for Deion, because anywhere where he wasn't going to be able to be Deion to have autonomy was going to be a failure in of itself. So I'm not saying they should have hired him, because the only way they should have hired him is if they sat down and said, "Hey, we're going to be different," which Auburn would never ever say that. So, and, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is, bro. It really is what it is. At the end of the day, Deion would not have been a good hire for Auburn in any capacity unless you had a different Auburn. And even though I wanted Deion over Hugh Freeze, I would have rather had like a few different head coaches other than Hugh Freeze. I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but I realized that like with the constraints Auburn gives you, Hugh Freeze made sense. But he's disgusting, and I didn't really want him. That being said, as someone who didn't want him, I'm not saying he should be fired after one horrible fucking production that he put out there in the past game. And for most of California games, also fucking dreadful. I'm not saying he should be fired. I don't think he should be fired quite yet. This team is not the best of all time. The defensive front is very light themselves. The secondary is good, like talent wise, good, but I mean, they were beat up the fuck before the game. They beat up the fuck after the game. I mean, it's just, or during the game, I should say, just tons of injuries. Clearly, Auburn's was not ready for some of the aspects of this game physically. They had a ton of dudes injured before the game, and between the heat, the way they were hitting out there, they just were not exactly prepared. I'm not blaming the defense for this game, by the way. The defense was fine. And I don't think this validates, like, Sanders as the right guy, even if Auburn did change, because I think year two is what's going to matter. I know now you can't use year zero or year one as like a year zero that you can just like wipe off the books, because with the transfer portal you can get your dudes out there. I mean, you look at Colorado before this game. Colorado looked like probably one of the best put together like outfits that we've had in college football maybe ever. Did I just hit the ground running and just keep on going? Like, there's very few like teams that put together that quickly. Sean Lewis had them looking immaculate on offense for the most part. The defense looked bad, but they looked like tolerably bad for at least 2 of the 3 weeks. But now, dude, kind of the talent is what talent is. If you don't have them, you don't have them. And I don't think it's a coaching problem at all, really. I mean, they just are not They're not comparable to Oregon. They're not comparable to USC. Probably not to Washington either. It's just not going to be, what some guys thought it was going to be. Which, if we were being reasonable, that's how you probably should have looked at it. I mean, it's hard to get past a light front on both sides of the ball. There's not a ton you can do even against gimmicky offenses with that. Oregon can pound the ball a little bit. USC can run the ball a little bit with, I think they still have Travis Dye, I believe. They had some pretty good running backs in one game I saw, which is the opening game this season. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, you can't really get past that, bro. You really can't. You just, at the end of the day, you can't. You can't get past it. It's hard to do, too. I don't think Deion should be fired. I don't think Deion should be looked at differently as a coaching hire, because Dudes just didn't work out. Like I just don't think that's how it should go. I think Deion is a fine candidate. I think Deion will look even better as time progresses once he gets the chance to recruit some guys on the line. I think he'll be fine. I don't think he'll be there long enough for that, to get to that point, but if he does, I mean, I think he'll get it figured out. I really do. I mean, I think he can recruit anybody to go anywhere. But unfortunately, people have to understand there, as far as demand versus supply, the offensive line is number one by far in terms of there being so little supply on top end offensive linemen and so much demand. It is number one by far. And a defensive line as a unit might be number two. It really might be. It might be a little bit easier to find like quality ends than it is interior linemen. But either way, like I think as a unit, it's still like one of the hardest positions to like really recruit for. I feel like that was an interesting play call that Ole Miss just ran. Wow. Anyway, that's gonna be it here. I just kind of wanted to speak a little bit, because those are going to be two coaching names that were recent hires, literally just off season, that are going to be looked at very unflatteringly after today, after their respective butt kickings. But I don't think it's fair to look at their whole hirings as failures because they went into situations that required, for one, in Oregon's case, Colorado required a miracle to win that fucking game, or even really compete in it. In Auburn situation, it's a little bit less margin of error in terms of excuses to supply. But again, I don't think you can look at his hiring as a failure because of this game. If you have other reasons why, then I mean, so be it. But I don't think this game vindicates the anti-freeze crowd as a whole, if that makes sense. Anyway, that's it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.